Right, we are back to talk about Nottingham Forest. It's not good. Now, this video is coming out just after Bournemouth have beat Arsenal to give a bit of a time frame as to when I'm recording this. And normally when I do my yapping about Nottingham Forest, I'll make a little script to go off, just outlining my thoughts. But I think for this one, we're just going to go off the dome and have a little chat about how things have been going recently. So, what's been going on with Forest recently? Well, we had a lovely trip to Wembley, which we lost 2-0, with both goals conceded very close to a kickoff, 2 minutes in and probably about 5 to 10 minutes after kickoff in the second half as well. And it just didn't look like we'd score. We had 5 or 6 chances on target in that second half, but not a single one went in. The woodwork was hit many a time, and even this miss from Morgan Gibbs-White was heartbreaking. And I think at that point we all knew we were not getting anything from this game, and Man City progressed. We then welcomed Brentford to the City ground on Thursday, a couple of days ago, and played some of the worst football I've seen Forest play this season, in which we lost 2-0. Now, I don't want to dig the boys out, even though all of them were horrendous. I'd say Nico Williams and maybe Ola Aina were the only two standout players in that game, if you could really call it that. They were not good. The team was not good. Now, I had a little bit of a head loss, even after making my head loss video last time about Nottingham Forest. I had a head loss, I will admit. I overreacted, saying that it's over, our European push. We're still 6th. We're still getting European football next season. It's not over yet. But just how bad that performance was from Forest was very uncharacteristic of us from this season. And I'm not sure whether it was hungover from the Wembley result, but when you've got our players saying, 5 cup finals, 5 battles left, and then we go and drop that performance, it's not good. It's really not good. It was shit, quite frankly. Now, I thought Nuno put out a very strong side for this clash against Brentford. When Hudson-Odoi and Elanga start, we do look the best. Didn't do that against City for some reason, and we looked terrible until Elanga came on, and he actually turned the game around. We looked much stronger with Elanga on the pitch. We started them both against Brentford, and it was shit. It was shit. The players didn't look up for it. Brentford were ready. They were ready to fight, and they played really well. We couldn't win a single second ball. We tried to play hoof-it football, and it didn't work. The players, they weren't communicating. It just looked like they hadn't played together before, and we've seen them play together this season. They've played brilliant football. They've all been really connected, but just this game, it was not that. And I don't know what's happened, but Nuno needs to fix up because, and the players need to fix up, not lumping it all on Nuno, but something needs to change, and something needs to change quickly, because we've got 4 cup finals left, and our season is slowly slipping away. Now, don't get me wrong, right? A top half finish would be good. We've been battling relegation for the past 2 seasons, so even surviving comfortably was an achievement, but the goalposts have changed. We've gone from comfortable survival to a top half finish to European to Champions League football. It's still very possible that we get Champions League football, but the teams around us are picking up form at a good time for them, but we're dropping or losing form at a bad time for us, and it's all culminating in something that's not looking too good. If we had won against Brentford, we'd be back up to 3rd and laughing. We didn't. We're now 6th. If we win, we go back up to 4th, but still, we're 6th. European football will be a success. There's no doubt about that. Whether it's Conference, Europa, Champions League, either one is a success. But I think most of us want Champions League football. I don't think that's a crazy thing to say. And I think the players know that as well, with the way they've been talking, 5 cup finals, 5 big battles, that sort of thing. I think the players know this as well. We're a club with a European history. Yes, it was back in the 80s, but we've got these 2 stars for a reason, and everything surrounding the club, the fans, the club, the owner, the players, they want to be in the big time. We want to be back to, our past glories. I'm not going to say we're winning the Champions League if we get it, but We want to be back in that competition and just giving a good accounting of ourselves, you know. Bringing those big European nights back to Trentside would be phenomenal. And even if we don't secure Champions League, you know, if we get Conference, if we get Europa, that's still going to be good. That's still European football and raises the club's profile, but not as much as the Champions League would. And I think the club needs Champions League football, personally. We'd be fine if it wasn't in the Champions League, don't get me wrong. European football is still European football, but the added prestige that comes with Champions League football, the players you can sign with Champions League football would really elevate the club and help us sustain ourselves in the Premier League and potential European competitions in the future. Much like Villa are doing now. I think they're a good model to follow. But are we going to do that? After watching us against Brentford, I really don't know. I hope the players were just hungover from the very emotional time that was Wembley. You know, we created a brilliant atmosphere as fans.
What the fucking hell is that?
And unfortunately, it didn't pay off in the end.
Fucking hell.
Because of some questionable football. The focus was never winning the FA Cup. It was always finishing high on the table, I think. Would I have loved an FA Cup final, an FA Cup win? Of course. Football is about winning things, and winning a trophy is class. It would have guaranteed some form of European football as well. But we're still 6th, you know. European football is very much in our hands. We can still get it, but we need to fix up. And we need to fix up quickly. We've got Palace coming up in a few days, and, you know, they're a good side. They've been really good the second half of the season, but they're better away from home than they are at Selhurst Park. And we're visiting Selhurst Park on Monday. So this is a good opportunity for us to shake off that Wembley hangover, put the Brentford result to the back of our mind, and really kick on and win these last 4 games, or get as many points as possible. Prior to the Brentford game, I thought we'd win at least 4 of them. You know, 12 points would have definitely secured Champions League football. I don't think that anymore. And that's not just because we lost to Brentford. It's because we lost to Brentford in such a shit fashion as well. Like, it's tough because the players have been playing well this season, but we're falling at the final hurdle, and it's painful to watch. I'm going to keep going back to the Brentford game, but it was horrific. It was horrific. It was terrible football. Brentford looked far better than us, and they deserved the 3 points. I don't like Brentford. It's hard to say that, but they were the better side. At the end of the day, they deserved those 3 points, and they got them. We just didn't look at the races. If a team scores first, it's going to be very hard for Forest to win that game, as we've seen this season. We've done it once, and that was against Villa. Where's the fight? What's going on? I know the players are probably trying hard, but watching that Brentford game, it didn't look like that. There was very little fight that I saw personally from the stands. And I think the biggest disappointment for that game was Morgan Gibbs-White. You know, there's been talk about City being in for him, Liverpool being in for him, and, you know, that aims to unsettle the squad, and it looks like it has done for him. He's one of our captains. This thing should not be affecting him, but it looks like it is. And also Pep had his arm around him after the FA Cup game. I think if we don't secure Champions League football, Morgan Gibbs-White is going. I think that's a fact at the end of the day. A very sad fact, but I think that's the case. We'll probably lose a couple of our other players as well. And if, you know, some of our most important players leave, we've got a shit team, quite frankly. Our bench is terrible. We saw it against Brentford. The subs Nuno made didn't work. We had fucking Dominguez on the wing for Hudson-Odoi. We had fucking Jota at fucking right back or left back or whatever. It didn't work. We brought on Awoniyi and kept Wood on. It didn't work. Nuno has started playing the 4-4-2 formation a couple of times. He played it against Man City, played it here, played against Fulham, our first loss of the season. It doesn't work, but he still keeps going back to it, and I don't know why. We've not seen anything that would suggest this 4-4-2 formation that we switched to works, because we've lost every game we've tried it in. And I don't know. I don't know. Some of the blame has to lie with Nuno. You know, he's got us this far already. We're on the piss with Nuno. But I think Nuno's had a bit too much to drink with some of the tactics he's been rolling out recently. I know at the FA Cup we didn't have all our players available. Nico Williams, Yates were suspended. Big players for us. It was never going to be easy against City. I don't think anyone really expected us to win. They probably wanted it. I wanted it, of course, but it wasn't to be. But then you look at the Brentford game, we have our players available and still we were shit. I hope to the high heavens that this is a hangover from the FA Cup. I hope that, losing to Brentford wipes the slate clean. We have 4 cup finals, starting with Palace at Selhurst Park on Monday. I don't want to say it's a must-win, but it's a very, very important game for our European hopes. European football is not confirmed yet, but it's in our hands. We can secure it. Champions League would be an absolute dream, and I think it's possible. We just need to lock in, quite frankly. I don't want to go in at the players, but they're at fault as much as Nuno is here because they were playing his tactics, but it didn't work. You need players to have the impetus to sort of defy the tactics they've been given and go and do something that they think will work. We saw it back in our promotion season. Joe Worrell disregarded what Houghton said. We went and got our first point of the season against Derby, and things went from bad to much better from there, and we got promoted. I think players need to have a bit more chutzpah about them, shall we say. If they know things aren't working, they should take it upon themselves to make changes that they think will work. We see Hudson-Odoi and Elanga switching sides all the time. It works, I just want to see a bit more fight from the team. They've been fighting very hard this season. I'm not taking that away from them. I'm very proud of them. But that Brentford game was not that. There was no fight that I saw in that game, to be honest. You could say I'm an entitled Forest fan, We're already playing really well. We're doing much better than we were the last 2 seasons. We would have taken this at the start of the season. And yes, we would have. But like I say, the goalposts have changed. We've been third for a majority of the season, and failing to secure European football or Champions League football won't be great. I'm not going to class it as a failure if we miss out on the Champions League. But if we miss on European football, conversations need to be had surrounding that. Because our squad will be decimated, and it won't be pretty. I think the Champions League is needed for the club, as I've mentioned, because we will lose big players if not. Morgan Gibbs-White, Murillo, Elanga, Hudson-Odoi, they could all leave if we don't get Champions League football. Milenkovic as well, Nico Williams, Ola Aina, some of the core of our squad, very, very important players, will go if we don't have European football. It's as simple as that. Football is a brutal sport. We love to think about loyalty, but if we don't have the top competitions where players can prove themselves, not only to themselves, but, to their country, especially in the case of Morgan Gibbs-White, they'll go. I don't want to be all negative, though, because, like I say, it's in our hands. We're playing some really good football up until recently. It's been a really enjoyable season, especially compared to the last ones, and we've got some brilliant players, a lovely squad, very likeable team of players. Everyone's together. We should rekindle some of that within the team itself and look after itself, to be honest. Who have we got coming up? Crystal Palace. We've beaten them at home. Leicester. We beat them at their gaff. West Ham. We beat them at home. And Chelsea, who we drew with their gaff. These are 4 very important games, but I'd say 3 of them are winnable. It's up to you which 3 they are, but I think 3 of these games are very winnable. I think Leicester's the obvious one, they're pretty much already down. We should be able to beat them at the City ground, but I can just see Forest fucking it up if we continue like we have been doing recently. West Ham also winnable. They're doing very bad under Potter. They don't really look up for the fight, so that should be one of the wins as well. And then you've got Palace and Chelsea, who are the 2 iffy ones. Like I say, Palace, really good second half of the season, but not as good at home as they are away. Chelsea always seem to have our number. We drew at their gaff, but they're a hard team to beat. We struggled last season against them. They beat us like 3-1 or something at our gaff. Hopefully we don't see a repeat of that this season, but it's very possible. So yeah, these are 2 iffy ones coming up. Our first game coming up after this video and our last game of the season. We definitely need to focus on those games, but don't take focus away from Leicester or West Ham because they will still be tough matches that we need to get all 3 points from at a minimum, in my opinion. Shut out all the noise and play your football. Forza Garibaldi, break out the Tifo again that saw a Morgan Gibbs-White masterclass against Fulham. We need that mantra now more than ever. especially with all these transfer rumours that are circulating, trying to unsettle the team. Looks like they've done so, but I know our boys can prove them wrong and go into these last 4 games, heads held high, and just do the best. Shut out the noise and play your football. Everything else look after itself. Fingers crossed we can secure Champions League football next season. Forget the Brentford game, forget the City game, focus on what's in front of you, and we'll be okay. You Reds, come on. Champions League boys, let's do it. Come on.